Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you to everybody that's been following along on my prep series. The recent video, show day vlog, I'll drop a link in the description, is now live and you can take a look at that right now. So the purpose of this video in particular is certainly going to be a short one, and I've been meaning to do it for a while, but I'm basically going to cover and break down how I make cream of rice. For this one in particular, I've got a couple of high days coming up, so I thought it'd be decent to make a decent amount of cream of rice, show you how to do it, show you what not to do, and also show you how to make the whey paste, and also show you the finished article. So come and have a look, take down the recipe, take down the notes. I'll drop it in the description as well so you can see a full breakdown, and we'll go through it step by step. But let's see if I can't fuck it up, and you best be grateful because I've cleaned my kitchen for the sake of you fuckers. I know you're all judgy, so let's get down to business. So for the purpose of this one, I am using Perform cream of rice, which I found to be an amazing flavour. It's something that I've used for probably the last 6 weeks or so, and I found that it gives a really decent amount of flavour. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just currently adding my cream of rice to the bowl. As I say, it's a high day coming up, so this will be my pre-workout cream of rice, and I'm aiming for about 85 grams, which I always seem to go over. 85 grams, perfect. So add it to a bowl. The other things you'd also want is a spatula. This will be for the whey paste, which we'll move on to in a second. And you also want a whisk. Do not use a fork, because a fork will just give it lumps, which is exactly what you don't want. And now to this, zero the scales again. I'll keep it on grams. Grams to mil kind of translates the same. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to add about 250 ml of water to this. Sing amongst yourselves while I'm just dribbling the water in. Doesn't matter too much if you go slightly over or slightly under, because it all comes down to how you microwave it. A little bit more, 250 grams, sound. So all you want to do with this next is fuck the scales off out the way for a minute, and you want to take your whisk and you just want to gently whisk in the powder until it's fully mixed. You'll be able to feel, and you'll also be able to see when it's fully mixed. Don't forget to go into the corners of the bowl, because otherwise you'll just have like a stodgy mass in there. So whisk that round, nice and easy, until it's all fully mixed. Next, what you want to do is you want to buzz it in the microwave. So I'm going to buzz this in the microwave for the first time round of 1.5 minutes. I won't show you the microwave, because I'm sure you know what a microwave is, and that's on full power. So now that's had the first minute in the microwave, you want to take your whisk again and just carefully stir it in again. At this point you won't kind of feel any difference in texture, because I make this literally every single day, both on a training day and a rest day. You kind of get used to it a little bit more, so give it a bit of a whisk, mix it back in again. Then you want to wanker it back into the microwave again for 30 seconds, and then leave it do its thing for a bit. So again, it's been in the microwave for 30 seconds, and at this point you want to mix it a little bit more carefully, because you might be able to see, you might not. Probably can't tell the difference, but it's starting to thicken up a little bit more. So just make sure it's all fully mixed in. You will get like a bit of scum on the top, and you essentially just want to stir that in. So just make sure it's nice and stirred in. And at this point, I think we'll probably want it in for another 20 seconds. At this point, like as you go along, you want to make sure with this in particular that you're not microwaving it for too long, because if you put too much heat in, then you've got to then add water back into it to essentially get the consistency you want. So I'm going to bang this back in for another 20 seconds and see where we're at. So now that's back out after another 20-second stint, and it's even thicker still. This might be able to see. You want to mix this carefully, because I've done it so many times where I've gone mad with the whisk in and then it's ended up going everywhere, which isn't exactly ideal. So as you can see, it's starting to thicken up and it's starting to get the consistency I want. At this point, you don't want it at this point, because if you were to leave it for a couple of hours or leave it overnight, as I generally prep mine the night before, so that when I come home from work, especially when I'm on prep, I can just grab it and eat it, rather than being absolutely ravenous trying to make it. So it looks like this is probably going to need another 15 seconds or so. Consistency is not bad. It's still quite runny, and I don't recommend eating it at this point. So back in for another 15 seconds. So now this has come back out after another 15 seconds. And as you can see, the consistency has changed quite nicely. You might get a few lumps in there, but that's the benefit of the whisk, because once it's all mixed in, you can go a bit more mad in terms of actually like mixing it. So that is thickening up quite nicely, and to be honest, it's not too far off where I want it. Ideally, I like it a little bit thicker myself. You could eat it like this, where it's still, when you lift the whisk, you get a few peaks in it. Sound like a proper chef there, but I'm definitely no chef. I'm going to throw this back in for 10 more seconds, and then we should be where we want it to be. So I put this back in for about another 10 to 12 seconds, and there we go. There's the consistency that we're looking for. You'll find when you whisk it, and I would say like make sure you're like generous with the whisking, because I don't know if you can see it, but there's a lot of steam coming out of it, and the whole purpose of the whisk is to kind of whisk the steam out of the cream of rice, because it just helps it set a little bit more. But I would say that's pretty perfect, to be honest with you. Next trick I'm going to show you, and this is one thing that I always do pre-workout, is I've got a pot of salt, pink Himalayan salt, which is what I use on all my meals and all my food, and set of drug scales that you may have seen in my show day vlog. Just grab a spoon. Is in my pre-workout cream of rice is I put about 2 grams of salt in there, which again, that's about 2.13, 2 grams, perfect. Just put those to one side. All I do is I just dash that in. So as I was saying before the door went, is I put the salt in with the cream of rice. Sometimes I forget and I put it on top of the whey paste, but for this purpose I generally just buzz it on the top and then whisk it in. You're probably thinking, oh, salt and cream of rice is fucking grim, but in all honesty, once you've got your whey paste in there, you've also got your frozen fruit, then you know there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. So just give that a tap off, and that's sorted. Give the whisk a bit of a clean off, ready to make the whey paste. So you can probably see in the background I've got 2 bags of fruit. Normally with my pre-workout cream of rice it says frozen fruit mix, but I'm generally not a massive fan of the frozen fruit mix because of some of the berries you get in there. So all I do is I just sprinkle on about 50 grams of blueberries. I'll go with 60 actually, or 75, fuck it. And then I also just spread them out a little bit. I then go for about 25-ish grams of frozen raspberries on there as well. And these ones from Aldi are pretty decent, it's about 106 grams. I don't really like too many raspberries, but I still like them. Once I've banged the lid on, I put it to one side. Because the cream of rice is still warm, it means that it melts the frozen fruit. So then I'll just give you a view of what it looks like. And that's what you get. Nice bowl of cream of rice, salt, and some frozen fruit on the top there. Now, let's set that to one side, let that melt and do its thing, and then let's make the whey paste. So again, for the purpose of this video, I am using Perform Sticky Toffee Pudding whey. Been using this week, and it's honestly incredible. For this meal, I've got 30 grams of whey, which is spot on. I think that's the first time I've ever managed to do that successfully. Just chuck that out of the way for a sec. Then what I do with this, 30 grams of whey, I put about 55 ml of water in it. So just pour that over the top. You don't want to go too over the top on water because you can add it in, but you can't take that shit out. So let's go for about 56, fuck it, it's too much, but it is what it is. So what I do once that's in there is I take my whisk and I just carefully work that in, because if you don't, it will go everywhere. Just gradually work that in. My hands are probably in the way, but I'll show you it in a second. In the way, excuse the pun. Just whisk that in nicely like that. Getting into the corners of the bowl, because we'll end up with powder around the bowl. Just make sure that's nice and mixed in. What I generally do is I generally set this at the back of the fridge. It just means that it kind of solidifies the whey paste a little bit more. If I go for more whey, I generally have 60 grams pre-workout, and I make that to a point where it's like really quite thick. And it means once I put it in the fridge, it really kind of changes the texture of it, and it makes it really quite nice. So next you want to grab your spatula and obviously the whey paste. Scoop around the bowl and then literally just drizzle that right over the top. I like to get a nice even spread, especially as there's so much, or so little whey, should I say. Just drizzle that over the top of the fruit. Get them right into the corners of the bowl, because obviously you want all of it, because protein. Drizzle that on nicely. Having a nice scrape around the bowl to make sure you get everything. Drizzle that on, nearly that. And whey is done. Absolutely fucking perfect. And there you have it. There is the finished article. Cream of rice, fruit, salt and whey paste ready for pre-workout tomorrow. So by the time I get around to eating this, this will be nice and set, nice texture. The cream of rice itself won't go all runny, which I've had in the past with a few other brands. As you leave it to one side, you then take it out the fridge and it ends up runny as fuck, and it's just, it tastes awful. So cream of rice, that's the recipe. I will drop it in the description with a rough breakdown. There will only be guidelines because obviously I don't want to, you know, kind of give you false information. So there we go. It really is that simple to make a bowl of cream of rice. I've had so many people asking me about the recipe. Take a look at that. Take a look at the description for a full breakdown of how to make it. That's how I do it in particular. And it ends up absolutely spot on every single time. I've been making it all the way through prep, so I've had literally days and weeks of making the same meal. And it's one meal that I hate to mess up. So it's one thing that I've managed to get the recipe right on. And if you follow the description, follow the instructions, should I say, then you get it absolutely spot on each and every time. If you have any questions or anything like that, feel free to drop into the comments. If you enjoy cream of rice, drop in the comments, let me know. Let me know your flavor combinations, the brands that you use, the flavors of protein, the flavors of cream of rice that you use, any other combinations, anything extra that you put in there as well. Let me know, drop in the comment and tell me. But keep an eye out for the next video and I'll give you another tutorial on how I make certain foods. Thank you for watching. Please drop a comment, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and please share this with friends, and hopefully it will help them and stop them eating shit, awful looking bowls of cream of rice. See you in the next one.